Let's say you're scrolling through federal spending records and you find a receipt. And as you look it over, you realize it's not from the Pentagon. It's actually from ICE. And the reason it caught your eye is because it doesn't say uniforms or transport. It says guided missile warheads and explosive components. Could it be nothing? Maybe a misclick or a bad code? Maybe. But maybe it's not. Here's what we're confident is real. Between January 20th and October 18th this year, ICE spent over $71 million on items labeled small arms ordnance and accessories. That's more than 6 times what they spent in the same stretch last year, specifically a 636% increase. There's a line item listed as guided missile warheads. That's the one you might have seen floating around. I certainly missed it. When folks started pointing this out, the vendor reportedly said it was a coding error, that the purchase was actually for distraction devices like flashbangs. And DHS issued a statement as well. They said ICE is not buying missile components. So, that specific line, it could be misfiled. In any case, the spending spike is very real, and so is the murkiness around what was actually bought. And that's a real problem for ICE, who makes too many mistakes for a lot of Americans' comfort. And in this situation, that's the best case scenario, that it was a mistake. There is some truth that procurement codes don't always tell you what's lethal and what's not. Some purchases show up under broad terms like chemical weapons, and that can mean tear gas or smoke rounds. But it could also be something more aggressive. And there's usually no itemized list to tell you what they're spending your taxpayer money on. The fact that ICE isn't just working at the border and that they conduct interior operations like citywide sweeps and courthouse arrests only amplifies people's concern around this issue. Earlier this year, DHS scrapped prior guidance that had limited ICE arrests at places like schools and churches. And that policy shift brought on legal challenges that are still playing out. They've also been sued, quite often, for warrantless raids and civil rights violations. So, when an agency like that starts stockpiling tactical gear, the question isn't just what they're buying, it's why, and for what. Because the founders warned us about this kind of thing. George Washington called overgrown military establishments dangerous to liberty. And Madison said a standing armed force tied too closely to the executive would threaten freedom. They built fences around power, like the Posse Comitatus Act. That one says the military can't enforce domestic law. Now, ICE isn't the military, but when civilian agencies start to look and feel like soldiers, that boundary starts to disappear. And here's the thing about crisis eras, moments like this. It turns into a very messy mix of procurement accelerating while oversight loosens. Exceptions become habits. And the public has to become the watchdog receipt by receipt. So maybe this was just a sloppy data entry. But just in case it wasn't, maybe we should still ask, how would you know if the country was building an army? An army that was meant for missions inside its own country. Would we see it early enough to say something? Oh, and by the way, this story came my way because one of you dropped a tip in the comments. I didn't actually see it. If there's something you think I should look into that I might just be missing in the craziness of the news cycle, let me know below. And if it piques my interest, I'll start digging.